but I just decided the more people successful with Isogenics will lead to more people being successful with Isogenics, which will lead to more people being successful with Isogenics. At some point, you guys, our jobs will not be as hard if there's more successful people in Isogenics, because it will be one of those things that people are like, oh my gosh, did you guys hear about this company? I mean, they've got like so many successful individuals. I'm going to like line up on that chick's doorstep because she's signing people up left and right, and she's not turning people away. She's spoon feeding them what they need. She's making sure that they are prepared and armed with things to be successful. And so that's why I have the one team mentality. That's why I don't have a lot of approval processes to get into our material, our trainings. I don't own this stuff, you guys. There's no reason for me to have it password protected. I don't get that. That's not where I operate from. So you'll often hear me talk about our team, and I refer to the people that I work with as the people that I work with. They're not like my team, my enrollment, my this, my that. It's my teammate. That's my teammate. I work with her. I've always worked with a person that I pay to do some of the monotonous ins and outs of my business. Very rarely will I just, it hurts my tongue to say she's my assistant. I will say she's a friend that works with me. So it's just really about a mindset. And if that doesn't serve you, then you're probably going to have to work through a few things. But if it does start making you feel good, then keep it going. Keep that mission, keep that motto. So taking the ego out is really hard, because it really is a strong trait that actually fights really, really hard for its place. I mean, an ego does exactly what you think it would do. It feels really important in your heart, in your head, in your brain. And so it fights to be brought up anytime it can. It fights to be front and center anytime it can. So it's really, really hard to really squash it. So it's one of those things that would like to stand out every single moment. So if you're a leader, first of all, not all leaders think that ego is bad. And not all ego is bad unless it's an unhealthy ego. There's healthy ego and there's unhealthy ego. So we'll kind of identify some of those things. But I just kind of wanted to get you guys in the mind place, in the mindset that allows you to maybe embrace some of this stuff. Embrace it as, wow, that does, she's kind of calling me out. Because as I was putting this together, I was calling myself out. So I'll be the first to admit that this is information and research that I needed. It's very serendipitous to do this so that I can actually learn it myself and squash some of my unhealthy ego and really raise some of the healthy parts of it. So I wanted to just kind of get into that place in your mind when you're thinking about it. And if you kind of are a loner, you're a person that works a lot alone, I want you to stop being that way. I want you to grab somebody. I want you to find somebody. If you're new, if you're in a town where you don't have a lot of other leaders, find somebody that is running another direct sales business, another network marketing company, and just say, hey, I'm a boss babe that just wants to collaborate, so that you can literally feel what it feels like to link arms with somebody and bring them along. And that's really, again, what this is about, leadership at its best. So, you know, are you the type of leader that is leading by example, or are you leading out of frustration and anger? Are you preparing yourself alongside your teammates, or are you standing ahead of them or on a stage above them and speaking at them? It's just one of those things you always kind of need to check and make sure that you're just kind of sitting with them, like powwow style. And again, that whole analogy of grabbing somebody by the arm and saying, do this with me. And sometimes I think that we beat ourselves up because we drag people along that don't really want it that bad. to a certain degree, that's okay, as long as they're not draining you, because then you just get frustrated yourself. And if that other person definitely sees you as too much micromanaging and not inspiring and leading, they're going to leave anyway. All right. I'm just going to warn you right now. Nobody needs to be micromanaged at this point in life. Right. And then, true leadership is when your team, when your teammates, when your team, when your partners, when your business partners, whatever you want to refer to people as from this point forward, when they show up better, when they actually show up better than you, that's true leadership. And that's okay. That's truly okay to have somebody that possibly you, if you've been mentored, show up better than you. And I've found, again, in this business, there's a lot of supernovas that will not handle that very well. They literally will sabotage your efforts, even if you're on their team, feeding their bank account every Monday. They would prefer to see you not succeed so that they can look like they have actually done better, because your success is a threat to them. All right. We see it all the time. It's very strange. There's a lot of people in this company, probably a lot of people on this call, that are on this call because they don't have a great relationship with their enroller. And that's because of some supernova complex that's come in and just ruined the relationship. So really be aware of that. If your team starts pulling away, ask yourself why. Why wouldn't they want to link arms with me? Why am I not really being included in mentoring them? Everybody wants it. They want more training. They want to be mentored, but my own team is pulling away from me. So I want you to really look at that pretty closely and just quickly decide, am I micromanaging them? Am I demanding things of them? Or am I inspiring them? There's a real specific difference, and it doesn't take much to figure that one out. All right. So people will either build each other up and everybody will win when there's these really healthy collaborations, right? That's what we all hope as leaders. But oftentimes, fear creeps in, control creeps in, and the stifling comes in, and it ruins people's souls, and then the whole business really fails. So I was reading a Harvard Business Review that wrote, when we believe that we are the sole architect of our success, we tend to be rude, selfish, create defensiveness that makes it impossible to appreciate ongoing lessons. So at this point, just think of yourself and your organization as a sponge, just sucking in all of the stuff around you, and be willing to do so. I've worked with people before that say, you know what, I'm really open to any sort of criticism or critique that you can give me. I'm super open to it. I've done a lot of self-reflection, and I realize it's really time for me to, get onto that same level. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to new ways of doing things. And so you actually go, wow, I think I'm actually going to mention something that would be awesome for all of us people. And you mention it and they're like, I'm already doing that. And it's like, okay, it probably wasn't all that open ultimately. So, you can kind of test the waters a little bit and always make sure that you are open to the learning, to accepting some new stuff. All right. So I found some other really interesting examples of leadership versus just pure ego. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Just a show of hands. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Shark Tank is a really awesome show that these sweet young entrepreneurs that have just been working it, grinding it out, have the guts and the drive and work through all of the red tape to get themselves on that show, right? There's actually one of the sharks named Kevin O'Leary, AKA Mr. Wonderful. Do you think he's got a big ego? He calls himself Mr. Wonderful. Have you guys watched him in action? Like, he's the one that usually lowballs the sweet little, very, very shy, intimidated little entrepreneur and gives them like a lowball offer And then he'll like count down and say, you know, I need to know in the next 3 seconds. And he's like, no other offers on the table. So he goes in and he suggests that this young entrepreneur take his lowball offer, and therefore no one else, none of the other sharks can suggest, because his offer's off the table if they think that they need to hear anybody else's offer, right? Did you guys realize that he's actually got the lowest success rate on the show? Somebody's not muted. Sorry, I'm not trying to be egotistical here, but you need to not mute yourself, just so that everybody else can hear. Guess who has the best success rate on the show of those sharks? Put it in the chat if you think you know. Buddy, want to guess? Who has the best success rate? Yes, Lori. Good job. Good job, Carrie Howard. So it's Lori. Lori has the best success rate on the show. And I think one is because she's a lady, and she just, women just kind of come across a little bit more nurturing. And they are a little less gruff. Women, you know, they're all sitting, and she's probably not as big as the guys. Mark Cuban is super, super successful also. But she's got the best return as far as the most success, the most deals. She closes the most deals. And so what Kevin O'Leary does is called grandstanding. And that's one of the first things that you need to do to get rid of your ego, of the very unhealthy ego. So they talk about Mr. Wonderful has the smallest amount of deals. Lori makes the most deals because she builds trust. And are you able to build trust when you're constantly telling people what they should be doing instead of what they are doing? Are you building trust when you tell people that they have to do it your way or the highway? Are you building trust when you send people on wild goose chases? And, you know, I am guilty of actually Googling it myself and sending a person a link. I know that doesn't create great behaviors. I know that that doesn't oftentimes let people know how to do it themselves. But if I'm in a big hurry and I know that that person might work full time through the day and they only have an hour to work a day, I'll retrieve the welcome note for them and put it into a text form. I'll retrieve the link, the Zoom code. I'll retrieve the Evernote portion and spoon feed it to them. That hasn't really so far been such a bad thing, but I think that it's building rapport, it builds trust, it lets people know that I do have their back, I will back them up. If they get lost in translation, there's nothing worse than you know, having to look for something and you're just like, dang, if you could just send me the darn thing. It takes you as long as to answer my text as it does to just locate the information that I'm looking for. I would much prefer to come across as a leader that will teach, but until they have a moment to really sit down and learn, I'm just going to give them the information that they're looking for. It will eventually benefit you. And especially in this particular compensation plan where our pay is based on other people's success, you have to find a fine line between, you know, having them learn it themselves and having them fumble around and be so frustrated that they just give up. It's a fine line, you guys, and I get it. I totally get it. So I think it's really important that, you know, to learn that humility alone is a trait of leadership. Think about that. Just being able to be humble, it takes a lot of self-control. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of failing forward. It takes a lot of taking the ego out of it just by being humble, just by being honest. I think it's really cool that so many leaders and so many people and so many influencers are now just, you know, going on air without having the perfect filter and the perfect makeup and the perfect this and the perfect that. That's hard for me. I will be the first to admit it. I oftentimes will brush my hair. I will oftentimes be wearing lipstick. I will oftentimes go to the gym wearing earrings and my hair is done. I just have a really hard time letting go of that piece, whether it's vanity, whatever it is. I love that we're going that way, and I think that we're softening up so that people can feel a lot more comfortable in their own skin and their own in their own identity doesn't necessarily have to be tied to all of this aesthetic type stuff, right? We kind of went through that with Instagram, that everybody wanted their grid to look perfect and have this great filter. And then everybody realized it was like one big blur of blue. So it was like, dang, I'm just going to do some black and white and add some pink splashes here and there. Whatever it is, you guys, that jazzes you up, do it. It's about you. It's about being authentic. It's about showing the spin hair and you don't care. It's about having mascara running down your face. I almost put a piece of spinach in my tooth tonight to start this call because I was wondering how many people would go, Sybil, did you realize you got spinach in your tooth? I mean, wouldn't that have been kind of funny? I think it would have been kind of like set the tone for what this is all about, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the ways to get rid of the unhealthy ego. So let's just first of all talk about what the actual definition of healthy ego is. So leaders oftentimes have confidence, and sometimes confidence can be misconstrued as ego or too much confidence, so a leader has to be confident enough so that others will follow. But it's, again, a really fine line. So you really want to have confidence so that you can inspire and create following. But the issue is whether you have a healthy ego or an unhealthy ego. So unhealthy ego is defined by not listening, not collaborating, bullying, obsessing about results, acting emotional, and people do not want to be around that. You can pretty much tell, like I mentioned, check yourself before you wreck yourself and your whole team goes down with the ship. If people are pulling away from you, not wanting to be involved in the stuff that you're doing, ask yourself why. Take a good look and just go, am I creating a healthy environment or am I micromanaging? Am I demanding of people or am I collaborating with people? A healthy ego is objective awareness of yourself, knowing your limitations, knowing your flaws and your quirks. They want the best for those around them and enjoy the success of others no matter what. And I hope if you're a part of our tribe time, you realize that that's what it's all about. Like most of us are not financially connected, but we cheer each other on to no end when anybody has a success. There's not jealousy, there's not judgment, there's a lot of successful cheerleading that goes on. And it just brings absolute joy to my heart, and I think so many around us, when anybody has any sort of little success, we celebrate it. We've got to celebrate it. And I know that it's a very, very healthy environment. And so when you can be surrounded by something like that inspires, celebrates, and doesn't put people down and doesn't bully, people show up, like they're showing up. That's a really good thing. Something good is happening there. So we're also extremely committed to learning, extremely committed to admitting that we don't know everything just yet. And we've got, in that group, I bet we've got 3 or 4 Isagenix millionaires. So they've already earned cumulatively over $1 million. And that's a big deal. Like, they are celebrated, they're on stage, Kathy and Jim, and the flowers and the big deals, you guys. And those folks are coming to be trained by other area leaders. And many of them, they've been with Isagenix for 10, 11 years. And they're like, we want to learn some of this new stuff that you guys, are coming in. And we're like, well, we want to learn from you. And when it works like that, That's true leadership. That's true collaboration at its best. I love it. Okay, let's see, I already read that part. So let's go through the pieces that you can start implementing that you really need to start doing less of or try to take out of to take that ego out of the leadership. So one of the things is you never want to stop trying. The first thing is never stop trying. Always try. Try again. That's why you'll see awesome leaders go to the same event over and over and over and over again. You'll see really, really top leaders going to every Wellness Wednesday that's up the street, and it's 1 hour. And I'm just mesmerized by Dr. Plant every time he opens his mouth. So I really don't mind going over and over and over again. But there are leaders in this town that make a gazillion dollars that go once and they're like, been there, done that. I just think that, it's not about them. It's about their teammates seeing that they're there as a sponge. They are there to absorb and learn. And I've learned more from Dr. Plant at Wellness Wednesdays than I've ever learned about any products anywhere I've ever gone. So I'm just going to keep on going because I think it feeds my soul. I love it. I love being on the campus of Isagenix. I love the fact that they open up the doors to us. We can take people with us. Make it less about you and more about them, and a Wellness Wednesday, they are suggesting that we pipe that into your living room. When it's happening, gather around. If you're not local, gather a few people around and have a few people over. That can be your tasting. Dr. Plant doesn't verbal vomit, laugh, and he actually has the credentials to support it. Number one in his class. Let's really capitalize on what they are feeding us. They do the editing, it comes out live, it looks good, they've got music in the background. Use this stuff, you guys, and get your ego out of the way and try this. Tried it, it didn't work. Don't stop. Don't be a quitter. Try